I played the closed beta test for Neverness to Everness for over 50 hours. I don't even think the developers wanted me to play longer, because as soon as I got to Hunter rank 29, the game gated me by needing 100k experience to get to 30. And for reference, level 28 to 29 was nowhere near that. But regardless, after collecting in so many hours of the game, I wanted to share my final thoughts and provide feedbacks to the developers at the same time. So let's get into it. Neverness to Everness has 4 character teams, each with their own unique attributes, elements, and abilities. Taking inspiration from Genshin Impact, there is a type of elemental reaction in this game. However, not every element can work together. Elements can only react to each other if their element is neighboring them in this wheel. For example, a light character cannot react with a dark character, as they are on opposite sides. These are more like elemental rotations instead of reactions. To cause an elemental reaction, you need to use an intro skill. These intro skills take inspiration from Wuthering Waves by filling up a concentro meter. But once this meter is full, any character with a neighboring element on the wheel can drop in with their intro skill to cause an elemental reaction. These have a variety of effects, like damage over time or debuffs. On top of these reactions, each character has their own passive on their intro skill to sprinkle up their reactions further. For example, this furry boy can add a delay slow-mo effect when doing an intro skill when there's a light character on the field. Basically, to summarize, characters can only work with elements next to them on the wheel. Characters inflict reactions with intro skills. Characters have unique passives to themselves when they inflict an intro skill, depending on what element they're swapping with. This is probably the most complicated part about the combat. Everything else is more bare bones. All characters have a 5-hit basic combo attack, a plunge attack you'll never use, a standard skill, and an ultimate skill. Ultimate skills fill up similar to Genshin by attacking enemies. On top of this, some characters have unique movement options by holding their dodge or normal attacks. Lacrimosa can turn into a bat and fly around, and Sakiri can devour enemies by riding on her demon. Fadia also has a unique perk where she gets free gifts when talking to certain shop owners. Lastly, there's a stagger meter that is common in many gacha games. In NTE, the enemies take a huge amount of damage in addition to being in a broken state. This burst damage is dependent on how many characters contributed to the shouter. If you perform a dodge at the right time before you get attacked, your follow-up will inflict increased stagger damage. While you have a limited amount of dodges that recover over time, you can recover all of them back instantly if you perfectly evade one attack. You pretty much have unlimited dodges, you just have 3 tries to get the perfect dodge right. That should never be an issue, unless of course you're playing in high ping. NTE has a very unique progression system. Each character can equip a disc. These are pretty much weapons that don't change your moveset. In order to be granted the full benefit of the weapon, the equipper must match its disc type. Each character has their own unique disc adapter and benefits from using the correct weapon. Basically, let's say in Genshin Impact you could use any weapon on any character, they just wouldn't receive the extra bonus that they provide. In this game, you can technically put any disc on any character, it's just better to match what they prefer. Artifacts are very unique in this game. They're Tetris pieces that you fit in each character's Game Boy. Each character has a different mold, so you might need to get creative on what you fit. Each piece has its own main stat and substat. You also get to see a preview of the substats that they dropped, so that way you don't need to invest in any bad gear and hoping that luck is on your side. At the bottom of the Game Boy, you have 2 halves of a circle. This is basically how you pick your own set bonus. Once you have 2 matching circle pieces, it will inform you of the Tetris pieces that you need to be used in order to provide the effect. This provides more flexibility in how you build your characters and how you fit their pieces into the Game Boy. You can upgrade your skill parameters through resources. This segment is pretty straightforward and doesn't really do anything different. The constellation system allows you to use dupes of your characters to provide a variety of upgrades to them. While this basically exists in every gacha game, there is one unique feature you can do in NTE. You can toggle on and off your constellations. If you feel like holding back, or you simply don't like one of the upgrades, you can turn it off whenever you want. No more C6 Bennett situations. This is also very good for players to test the power of these upgrades individually. I'm sure content creators will love this, especially when you can be a whale and still say, free to play by the way. In my opinion, NTE has so much freedom when it comes to its progression. I actually think it has the best progression I've ever seen in a gacha game like this. It allows players to be flexible and experiment however they want, and they absolutely cooked with this system. NTE has exploration that tries not to pressure the player with a huge amount of chests on the map. This comes at a cost with lack of combat in the overworld outside of stamina nodes or one-time encounters. At times, this can make the world feel a bit empty and unused. The one-time encounters with anomalies are all cinematic and pretty memorable, but that's the issue. It's a one-time encounter. I understand that Wuthering Waves and Genshin eventually devolve into an endgame of never-ending dailies, but at least in those games I can slap around monsters whenever I feel like it. In NTE, you have to go out of your way to find combat once you're done with your first impressions. They need to have some type of monster respawning system. What NTE does well is how quickly you can travel the map with transportation. While there is a lack of teleportation points on the map, I realize I still get to where I want insanely fast when using a car. I would hope so. It's a car after all. You will probably be able to speedrun the entire map of its collectibles faster than any other open world gacha once you get some wheels. While this is a nice touch, it does empty the world of its one-time content even faster. It's like a plant being watered too much until it drowns. You get fed, but at what cost? The side content is what is supposed to make up for lacking what's traditional in an open world game. Your goal in these side activities is simple. Make a bunch of money through a tycoon, buy cool cars, houses, and furniture. And in NTE, you can open up cafes in the city. You determine the menu items and even upgrade their quality. You also have to go out of your way to shop for the ingredients needed to create these dishes. Your cafe will gain experience and produce a higher income for you over time. You can use this money to open more cafes or buy yourself something nice. But what's the point of it all? Why would you care about earning money so you can just buy things to fill your house with? Well, the answer is quite simple. Extra stamina regeneration. Yes, you heard me right. By decorating your apartment with furniture, it adds a bonus to the stamina you get over time. The stamina you use to farm nodes and upgrade materials for your characters. This is a huge incentive for players who put time into the side content. Furniture can upgrade 3 different stats in your house. Regular furniture, such as sofas or beds, give you bonus stamina. Furniture such as fish tanks can raise your income for your cafes to receive more money. Furniture such as collectibles can raise your bond level with characters faster. Bond levels are basically gifts you can give to characters that eventually will reward you with exclusive items and side quests. One example here is if you give this guy enough presents, you will get a unique scooter mount. Or you can get an exclusive outfit for Mint if you max her out. The furniture basically adds a bonus percent to the gifts you provide so you can reach those rewards much faster. The side content in NTE provides huge returns for committing to them. It doesn't make the extra side stuff pointless, and while you're enjoying the permanent buffs and rewards, you might as well customize your car or make your place look nice. The plot of NTE is very lighthearted and funny, but it also enjoys adding some horror elements into the mix. You basically have a group of friends going around accepting commissions to fight anomalies that terrorize the city. Or sometimes you might be a wingman for someone about to go on a date. The plot of NTE feels more like episodes instead of a huge overlapping plot, at least for what I've played. That isn't a bad thing either, it just means you really don't know what to expect with each new story chapter. The characters are very expressive and radiant. I love all the character designs in the game outside of 2. I feel like the main character looks pretty bland compared to everyone else, and I also don't like Alder's design because he looks like Gate 2 who defends the power creep in Tower of Fantasy, dismissing people as clueless. Regardless, I really do like every character in this game. Yes, even the furry. The music and visuals are also amazing. Some tracks in this video are from the game itself. Finally, some feedback. Combat. While NTE has some of the best progression system I've ever seen for character growth, it still needs better combat to justify it. I feel like global content creators feel the combat is sluggish, but many of our attacks don't register due to the high ping that we're playing with. If you watch gameplay on the CN side on Bilibili, you can see the combat is way more snappy and crisp. However, despite how the combat looks better on the CN side, it still needs improvements. Many times you feel like you're stuck in animations and you can't cancel out of them. I also feel like there isn't much of a need for a 4th character in your team. Your main damage dealer can only swap in with 2 elements regardless, so it just feels awkward having that 4th slot there. Maybe with more support characters, this feeling may change. And lastly, exploration. Improve the reoccurring content over the one-time content. Even if it's a daily spawn of enemies, it lets your players have something extra to do in the world that won't be consuming stamina, getting rich, or giving gifts to people. Because once you finish the map, it feels empty like any open world gacha. Except now, there's no enemies on the map. So much has been invested in the cinema one-time experience, but it comes at a cost. Of course, all this comes from the experience of the closed beta test. Who knows how much they have in the oven? NTE doesn't have to be a perfect game. It only has to be a great game. I really do have high hopes for it and hope they take all the feedback to heart. How do you feel about NTE? Do you think they'll be able to cook, or will they burn everything? Let me know how you feel below. And if you really want to join the conversation, stop by my Twitch. I stream basically every day there. Until then, take care.